at stage 12, paragraph page 1127.
Hmm.
Last headword was costly new work type of lesson.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start from where you ended and let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Two, two, three. Okay, here we go. Where
Mhm.
would you prefer to live? In a cramped inner city area surrounded by busy crowds, or in an isolated rural environment far from any other sign of habitation? Where would you prefer to live? In a cramped inner city area surrounded by busy crowds, or in an isolated rural environment far from any other signs of habitation? I'd prefer to
I'd
live
prefer to live
in
at isolated rural
environment
environment
far
far
from
from
any other
any
signs
other
of
sign
habitation
of habitation
than in a cramped
than
inner
in a
city
clam in
area
a city area
surrounded by busy
surrounded by
crowds.
busy crowd.
Yeah, but you're in a busy crowd now. Okay, next. Has this school taken on any new staff recently, as far as you know? Has this school taken on any new staff recently, as far as you know? Yes or no?
Yes,
This school
this school
has taken
has
on
taken
some new
on some
staff
new staff
recently, as
recently,
far as I
as
know.
far as I know.
Very good. What would I mean if I said I think I've taken on too much? What would I mean if I said I think I've taken on too much? If you said
If you
I
said,
think
I
I've
think
taken
I've
on too
taken on
much,
too
you'd
much,
mean that
you'd mean
you
that
thought
you
you'd
thought
expect,
you'd expected
I'm sorry, you'd accepted
you accepted
too much
too
work
much
or
work or
responsibility.
responsibility.
Very good. Which of these two sentences is correct? He stopped off at the bank on the way home, or he stopped over on the bank on the way home. Which of these two sentences is correct? He stopped off at the bank on the way home, or he stopped over at the bank on the way home. He stopped off
He stopped
at the
off
bank
at the
on the
bank
way
on the
home
way home
is correct.
is correct
Why? Why? Because stop
because
over
stopover
communicates that
communicates
you spend the
that you
night
spend the night
somewhere
somewhere
while on a
while
long
on a
journey.
long journey.
Very good. So give me an example of stop over. So give me an example of stop over, please. On our way
On our
from the
way
UK
from the
to
UK
Australia,
to
we
Australia,
stop over
we stopped
in
over
Beijing
in
for one
Beijing
night.
for one night.
For one night. Very good. Next. In what way can a lively class of children be tricky for a teacher to cope with? In what way can a lively class of children be tricky for a teacher to cope with? A lively
A
class
lively
of
class
children
of two
can be
women
tricky
can be tricky
for a teacher
for a
to
teacher
cope with
to cope
because
with because they make a lot of noise, and the teacher can have trouble controlling their behavior.
that's correct, and they can be too energetic also. Very good. Okay, next. What happens if a player fails to turn up for a football match? What happens if a player fails to turn up for a football match? If a player
If a player
fails to turn up,
to stand
one
up,
more. If a
huh?
player
If a player
fails
fails
to
to
turn up
turn up
for a football
for a
match,
football
a
match,
reserve
a
player
reserve player
take his place.
his place
Take his place.
takes his place.
Very good. Okay, next. When two countries are negotiating in order to end a conflict, but both sides are reluctant to compromise, what often happens? When two countries are negotiating in order to end a conflict, but both sides are reluctant to compromise, what often happens? If two
If
countries
two
are
countries are
negotiating in
negotiating
order
in
to
order
end a
to
conflict,
end a
conflict,
conflict,
but both
but
sides
both
are
sides
reluctant
are reluctant
to
to
compromise,
compromise,
the countries
the countries
often end up
often end up
breaking off
breaking
the
off
negotiation.
the negotiation.
Very good. What do we mean by public services? What do we mean by public services? By public
By
services,
public
we
services,
mean
we
education,
mean education,
healthcare,
healthcare,
public transport,
public transport,
rubbish collection,
rubbish collection,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Do modern cars need servicing less frequently than old cars? Do modern cars need servicing less frequently than old cars? Yes.
Yes.
Modern cars
Modern
need
cars need
servicing
servicing
less frequently
less
than
frequently
old
than
cars.
old car.
Very good. What does the abbreviation CEO stands for? What does the abbreviation CEO stand for? The abbreviation
The abbreviation
CEO
CEO
stand for
stand for
Chief Executive
Chief
Officer.
Executive Officer.
Very good. Would you like to be the CEO of a large international business organization? Would you like to be the CEO of a large international business organization? Yes or no?
Oh, yes,
I would like to
I would
be
like to be
the
the
CEO of a
CEO of a
large
large
international business
international
organization.
business organization.
Very good. Why? Why?
Because I want to I want to try move a lot of money.
Ah, very good. Me too. Okay, next. What does the expression out of sight, out of mind mean? What does the expression out of sight, out of mind mean? The expression
The
out of
expression
sight,
out of
out
sight,
of mind
out of
means
mind
that
means that
sometimes when we
sometimes
don't see
when
a
we don't
person
see a
or
person
thing
or
for a
thing
while,
for a
we
while,
forget about
we
them.
forgot about them.
Very good. What's the opposite of saying the ship was out of sight? What's the opposite of saying the ship was out of sight? The opposite
The
of
opposite
saying
of
the
saying
ship
the
was
ship
out of
was
sight
out of sight
is the ship
is
was
the ship
inside.
was inside.
Very good. If somebody takes everything in life too seriously, can they end up suffering from high level of stress? If somebody takes everything in life too seriously, can they end up suffering from high levels of stress? Yes. If
Yes,
somebody
if somebody
takes everything
takes
in life
everything in life
too seriously,
too
they
seriously,
can end up
they can end
suffering
up
from high
suffering from
levels
high levels
of stress.
of stress.
Very good. When do people sigh? When do people sigh? People sigh
People
when
sigh
they're
when
tired,
they are tired,
impatient,
impatient,
sad, or
sad,
unhappy.
or unhappy.
Very good. What do the police have to do when someone vanishes in mysterious circumstances? What do the police have to do when someone vanishes in mysterious circumstances? When someone
When someone
vanishes in
vanishes
mysterious
in mysterious
circumstances, the
circumstances,
police
the
have to
police have
investigate
to
the
investigate the
disappearance in order
disappearance
to
in
find out
order to find out
whether a
whether
crime
a
has
crime
occurred.
has occurred.
Very good. What's the most ridiculous present anyone's ever given you? What's the most ridiculous presents anyone ever given you? The most
The
ridiculous
most
present
ridiculous present
someone
someone
given me is.
given me is nothing.
Oh, one
Nothing.
more. I
I've
have yet.
never,
I have
uh,
yet
I have yet
to receive
to receive
the most
the most
ridiculous present.
ridiculous present.
Okay, very good because you haven't received it yet. Um,
Yes.
maybe this year.
This
Okay,
year.
next. Okay, so what proportion of people do you think would be willing to commit financial fraud if they knew they were guaranteed to get away with it? What proportion of people do you think
Mm.
would be willing to commit financial fraud if they knew they were guaranteed to get away with it? I think
I think about 20%
of people
of
would
people
be
would
willing
be
to
willing
commit
to commit
financial fraud
financial fraud
if they knew
if they
they were
knew they
guaranteed
were
to
guaranteed
get away with it.
to get away with it.
Very good. Does this class always assemble in the same room? Does this class always assemble in the same room? Yes or no?
Oh, yes,
This
this
class
class
always assembles
always
in
assemble
the same
in the
room.
same room.
Very good. What are the advantages of buying furniture that you assemble at home as opposed to ready-made furniture? What are the advantages of buying furniture that you assemble at home as opposed to ready-made furniture? The
The
advantages of
advantage
buying
of buying
furniture that you
furniture that
assemble
you
at home
assemble at home
as opposed
as
to
opposed
ready-made
to
furniture
ready-made furniture
are that the
that
furnitures
the furnitures
usually cheaper
usually
and
cheaper
easier to
and
transport.
easier to transport.
Very good. Does the person with poor dress sense tend to choose clothes that don't go with one another? Does a person with a poor dress sense tend to choose clothes that don't go with one another? Yes. A
Yes,
person
a
with
person
poor dress
with
sense
poor dress sense
tends to choose
tends
clothes
to choose clothes
that don't go
that don't
with
go
one another.
with one another.
Very good. What do we mean by a recording studio and a TV studio? What do we mean by a recording studio and a TV studio? by a recording studio
by a recording
and a
studio
TV studio,
and a TV
we
studio,
mean the
we
places
mean the
where
places
music
where
and
music
TV
and
programs
TV
are
programs
recorded.
are recorded.
Very good. What's the principal difference between a bed sit and a studio flat? What's the principal difference between a bed sit and a studio flat? The principal
The
differences.
principal differences,
The principal difference
the principal differences
between a bed sit
between a bed
and
sheet
a studio flat
and a studio flat
is that a bed sit
is that the bed sheet
shares comfort rooms,
shares bathroom,
shares
shares
a bathroom
a bathroom
with other people
with other
in the
people
building,
in the building,
whereas the tenant
whereas the tenant
in a studio flat
in the studio flat
has their own bathroom.
has their own bathroom.
Very good. Why should people with hectic working lives make sure they don't skip breakfast? Why should people with hectic working lives make sure they don't skip breakfast? People
People
with hectic working
with
lives
hectic working life
should make sure
should make
they
sure
don't skip breakfast
they don't skip breakfast
because they might not
because they
find
might not try
the time to eat
the time to
a
eat
decent lunch
a decent
later
lunch
on.
later on.
Very good. Give me an example of the word costly. Give me an example of the word costly, please. After making
After making
several costly mistakes,
several costly
the
mistakes,
CEO
the
took
CEO
the decision
took the
to
decision
resign.
to resign.
Very good. Okay, so that's the end of revision. Now get your book and let's answer word building exercise 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Word building exercise 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so open to page 1127.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's answer word building exercise 2. Okay, so please read
Mm-hmm.
number 1.
Number one, provide. It's a teacher's responsibility to ensure the provision
Mm-hmm.
of of safe equipment for the experiment.
Experiment. Provision. Very good.
Provision.
Number
Number
2.
two, supports. He's highly intelligent, but I'm afraid. Suppose.
He's
He's supposedly,
supposedly very good.
supposedly highly intelligent, but I'm afraid to say I find that hard to believe.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Number
Number
3.
three, invite. The sea looks very. Huh? Invite? Very? Today, why
Invite.
don't we?
So continue reading.
Oh,
The sea looks
uh,
blank. The sea looks
very?
very blank today.
Today, very?
Why don't we come
See,
back?
why? Oh,
So what's the opposite
by
invite?
opposite. Invite opposite.
Invite.
I'm I'm visit. I'm
Un
visit. I'm
unin
busy. I'm
uninviting. Hmm.
inviting. I'm
Uninviting.
inviting today. Wow,
Yeah,
why don't
so maybe the
we
sea
come
doesn't look
back?
good today. Uninviting. Maybe
I'm
the waves are
inviting.
high. Hmm.
I see. I
Hmm.
understand. Okay. Oh, number four,
Hmm.
cancel. I'm afraid the restaurant is fully booked out. Booked. But if we get canceling, canceling,
Now we get
get
a
uh
cancel
cancel.
cancellation.
Now
Hmm.
cancellation.
Cancellation. Very good.
Cancellation. I'll contact you immediately.
Hmm.
Number five, human. One newspaper has referred to what the soldiers did as a crime against, and I totally agree. Human,
Human
human,
crimes against human
crime against humanity,
humanity. Very
humanity,
good.
humanity and I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so number six, inform. I'm afraid you've been Miss Mrs. Houghton's been dead for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Dead for 10 years. I'm afraid you've been information.
Miss,
You've been miss
misin,
miss in
like wrong information. Misinformed.
info misinform
Mm-hmm.
misinform
Misinformed.
misinform
Yeah.
miss
So it
M
means
I S M I S
M I
M I S
S I
N
N F O
I
R
N
M E
F
D.
O R E E D
Misinformed. Mm-hmm.
E D informed.
Mm-hmm. Misinformed.
Okay,
Yeah, it
thank
means that
you.
he got the wrong
Inform.
information. Yeah, because
Okay, inform.
he's still looking for Mrs. Hoxton, and Mrs.
Mm,
Hoxton's been dead for 10 years
mm,
already.
mm, mm, mm,
Again.
mm. Okay, number seven, realize the sudden realization that she'd left her bag in the bar made her feel a bit sick.
Hmm.
Realization,
Realization, very good.
realization. Uh, Number eight, attend all the uh, working at this petrol station wear a uniform. Attendance,
Attendant,
attendance, all
attendance.
the attendance.
Hmm. Number nine.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. Attendance.
Attendance.
Hmm.
Attendance. S
With an
E
S.
D. S. Oh, okay. S. Number nine. Dismiss David's. David's dismiss.
This.
Dismiss.
Yeah. Now this
Dismissing.
dismissal.
Dismiss. Dismissal.
Uh-huh.
I'm not
Dismissal.
sure about
Hmm.
that. Dismissal. A dismissal.